Okay, so Nick is asking, should I put my location if I'm willing to relocate? Okay, so yes, but you should also put that you are willing to relocate, Nick. So it depends where you're relocating from. But if you're relocating from the EU, or if you're an EU national, let's say, I'm not going to mention the B word, but it is important that if you're currently in the UK and you've got all the prerequisite kind of documentation to work in the UK, you've got your pre-settled status or whatever it is that you require, just mention that when you're putting in your location. Put it at the top. So I'd recommend, if you are in a fixed location and you're looking for work in that area, put your postcode on there, because we can search these databases with postcode, and we'll try and contact you about jobs which are nearby. If you are looking for relocation, for instance, Nick, and you're looking for London, maybe put that you're looking for roles in London around kind of, and put a London postcode around there as well. That will help the recruiters find you, but give a bit of context about where your friends are. I hope that helps. Kitan is asking how a fresher's CV should look. Really, Kitan, it's no different to what we've already discussed. However, I appreciate that the experience you have may be less abundant. So in that, talk about the projects that you've worked on at university, talk about placements that you've done in kind of between your second and third year, for instance. Talk about the things that you've learned, the transferable skills. Even if your only work experience is in a bar or a restaurant or something like that, you should talk about that and talk about any responsibilities that you took on. Personally, I think that if you're studying and you're working part-time, or you take a summer job, that immediately puts you ahead of someone who doesn't, because it shows that you want to get out there and keep busy. Yeah, I hope that it helps. It is going to come down to project work, I think, that you've done on your course more often than not. But okay, so Trevor's asking, when using colour, are there colours stroke styles to avoid? For instance, red can be viewed as aggressive. Yes, please do not use red. Do big blocks of bold colour. If it's red, or if it's kind of a bright green or something, potentially kind of be a bit off-putting. Use kind of, I know it's personal choice, but we saw some example CVs earlier where we kind of had pastel shades or kind of bright colours. I think something like that, or just use it sparingly. It doesn't need to take over the CV. Like we saw the one CV had a kind of a banner at the top with a nice kind of washed out blue, I think it was, or a green. Stuff like that is great. Or even if you just use it as the on your name, so the example CV that I've put together, the colour was in the headers, it was in the candidate's name, it was in the job titles as well. Things just and that helps draw your eye away from it just all being black text. Okay, Shannon has asked, how long should you wait before doing a follow-up call or email? Don't wait, just call them. It's there, it's at the top of their inbox. So the great thing about calling a business when you have applied is that you're more likely to be at the top of that pile as the most recent applicant. So you're going to be easier to find. The longer you leave it to follow up, the harder it is to find them, especially some of these applicant tracking systems and portals. They can be a bit of a nightmare to navigate for internal recruiters and the hiring managers. So putting a call in and helping them identify, telling them about yourself, is going to help you effectively jump the queue, Shannon. So and if it's a no, if you're not right for that job, at least you'll know then, and you won't be waiting. A lot of my clients are receiving hundreds, if not thousands, of applications, so they're not getting back to everyone. It's impossible. It's not fair to expect them to write to or call every single applicant. So if you're calling up them, don't worry about bothering them. They'll either answer or they won't, but at least if you speak to them, they should be able to give you feedback there and then. Okay, Alex is asking, if you are in a temporary non-engineering job presently where you should be Where should that be on the CV if your most relevant and important recent engineering job should be first? That's a good question, and obviously that's a very current question given the climate we're in. So personally, I would put your most relevant recent job on the first page, and then summarise and continue the rest of your career history kind of on the second page onwards. You may want, I would recommend putting in your profile the type of job that you're looking for, and just give a very brief explanation. This has been a rough year for a lot of people, so I don't think going into retail or whatever it is that you happen to be doing whilst the rest of your profile is showing engineering work, I don't think that's going to affect your chances too much, given the kind of circumstances we're in. Wayne is asking on having a fair bit of short contracts. Is it better to just list the company and just have a description of the position on the latest assignment from that same company? So yeah, Wayne, if you've got repeat contracts, there's no point and especially if you've been working on the same or a very similar project and your responsibilities have been the same. I would put the detail in your most recent one and then just refer back to it, or even in that kind of let's just detail the amount of times you've worked there. It's personal choice, but yeah, there's no point just repeating it for repeating's sake. Nathan is asking, what size font would you recommend using on a CV? It depends what font you're using, Nathan. Really, it's I think a good litmus test is if you print it off and you're squinting to read it, it's too small. If you've got it open at 100% on your screen and it looks and you have to zoom in, it's too small. I think generally speaking, obviously it depends on the font, but anything between 10 and 12 is fine. Again, some fonts look better on the smaller one, they look smaller than they do or whatever. So I hope that helps. Ian is asking, if you have a long CV, is it better to include lots of white space to improve the layout or keep the number of pages to a minimum? So if you have a long CV, Ian, and that's because you've got a lot of experience, then my advice would be to summarise anything kind of past kind of 10 years. So anything kind of pre-2010, I'd summarise it with maybe company, dates and job title or job type, and you can add at the bottom for kind of a full breakdown, please contact me. That's absolutely fine. Realistically, if you're a contractor, they're only interested in your most recent contracts anyway, and if you're working on consumer goods and you worked at Nokia 15 years ago, the phones have moved on, for instance, so it's less important to go into the details of kind of how to injection mold a case for a 3210, let's say. So I would say kind of get your key information on your first page and your key kind of career history on your second page. If you've got to go on to a third or fourth, fine, but yeah, do use the white space because you want to make it as accessible for the reader as possible. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you found this session useful. If you have any other questions, you think of anything, please do contact me on the email on the screen there, or drop me a call. Happy to talk to you. But yeah, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure.